Hello everyone! Today we're going to have a brown rice black bean burrito bowl. In my pot I've already got about a teaspoon of olive oil, and I've got my fourth of a yellow onion and my can of black beans because I had some trouble with my camera for a second. But let's start this dish. We're going to have our ingredients and then I'm going to turn the pan on my back on. We have a half a cup of brown rice, half of an avocado, some small tortillas, 2 hash browns. If you don't want to use hash browns, even though I researched them and I made sure they didn't have any animal products in them, you can also use oven roasted potato wedges. Those also work really well. Or you can like pan fry some potatoes in vegan butter on the stove with some garlic, and that'll also be very good. I've got a handful of spinach to top because I don't use lettuce because I don't find it's nutrient dense enough. It's mostly water content, so I use spinach instead. I've got my olive oil. I've got my cat. I've got my bowl that I had my onions in, which are now in the pot. I've got 1 clove of garlic smashed and chopped. I've got a fourth of a green bell pepper, my fourth of a roma tomato, and my seasonings. And we're going to start this dish again. So we're going to put our stove on about medium heat. I have it on high, but we're going to lower that. There we go. And in the pan, I've already slightly cooked my onions down before I put in my black beans. I'm going to give this a stir, and I'll get right back to you. Now that I've got my beans and my onions stirred in and they're cooking in the pot, I used a can of black beans, but you can also make your own black beans, and you can use those instead. Like, you can buy them dried, and you can soak them, and you can cook them. But I had a can of black beans on hand, so that's what I did. And while our beans and our onions are cooking, we're going to add in our minced garlic, our 1 garlic clove. And we're going to add in our seasonings in just a minute. Now, I've got a long list of seasonings, so I'm going to have those in the description box. Let me stir those in real quick. I've got all of my seasonings stirred in, and this recipe is a lot simpler than the last recipe, and it takes a lot less time, because this is literally just heating up a can of beans, putting seasoning on it, and then assembling the burrito bowl. I make these when I really don't feel like cooking for hours and hours at a time, because sometimes I'll sit there and I'll just make a soup. But I had asked on Twitter what y'all had wanted me to make, and this is the one that won out. It was a tie between this and the rice balls, but I'm going to make the rice balls next Monday. And I'm going to make recipes, and I should still have one out on Friday. And next Friday is going to be possibly some kind of fudge for the holidays. So stay tuned for that. And I've got all my recipes for next week already planned out, because what didn't win this week is going to be moved to next week. Alright. Now that our beans are in and we're cooking for our medium heat, we're going to add our green bell pepper. I had just wanted to use up the rest of the bell pepper I had from the other day, from all the other recipes I had. I don't normally put green bell pepper in this, but it looks like it would be good. Let me stir that in, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, we've got our green bell peppers mixed in to our black beans, our olive oil, and our onions. And we're going to let this cook for another 2 minutes maybe. I've lowered the heat down quite a bit, and we're going to let this cook while I get set up to build the burrito bowl. I'm going to get set up real quick, and then we'll be right back. Okay, I have my beans and vegetables turned off, and I've set up my burrito bowl. I've got a bowl with 2 small soft taco tortillas in it. I'm going to put the brown rice, I'm going to put the beans, and then I'll put the vegetables and potatoes in just a second. I had forgotten to mention that I am using a very small bowl, and this recipe is probably going to make at least 2 or 3 burrito bowls, because you can't just cook half a can of beans, you can't just cook a half cup of rice. Well, I can't, because I have a rice cooker, and I'm not going to keep a half a can of beans in my icebox unless they're already cooked. So this recipe will probably feed about 2 or 3 people if they're smaller portions like this, instead of a very large portion where everything is put in. But since this is going to be my lunch today, and I'm actually going to eat this in a little while, we're going to have just about a spoon of this black beans, and this half cup to 3/4 of a cup of brown rice, which probably isn't going to be completely put in here. I'm just going to put about that much of rice at the bottom of the bowl before I put the hash browns, which I'm going to cut up in half, my avocado, and my other vegetables. So let me make the bowl before I put the vegetables, and I'll get right back to you. I've got my beans and my rice in the bowl. I've cut my hash browns in half. I don't actually fry my hash browns. I put them in the oven. On my tabletop oven, it took about 25 minutes, but I didn't have to turn them because I put them on a rack. Normally, if I was at someone's house that had an actual oven instead of just my tabletop oven, it would probably take about half the time. So I just put these. If you want, you can just fry these in oil until they're crispy brown. But I don't like to fry things, so everything goes in the oven. And I try to use as least oil as possible. But we're going to add our potatoes. We're going to add our spinach. We're going to add our pieces of tomato. And then we're going to be done. I'm going to add them to where it's all nice and pretty. This picture is going to go up on Instagram, so you might see it on Instagram before you see the video. I'm using tongs because I don't want to get the oils from it all over my hands while I'm trying to cook. Put just a little bit of spinach. It looks like that. And then we're going to put some of these on top. Now, you could put avocado first before you put the greens on top. But the avocado is actually going to look really pretty on top of all these green vegetables and this tomato. So we're going to put it on top, on the very, very top. Looks like that. Maybe put a little bit more tomato. A little bit more tomato. There we go. Now I'm going to cut up that avocado and put it on top. And I'll show you, and then we'll be done. And now we have our avocado, more spinach, our tomatoes, our potato hash browns. We've got our brown rice and our beans. Our burrito bowl is done, and it looks delicious. It is rice with flour with potatoes, so it's very hard carb dense. So this maybe should be like a weekend, once a month thing. Because you shouldn't really eat carbs on carbs on carbs on carbs. But it does have protein. It does have green vegetables, which have a ton of iron. And the brown rice actually has protein as well. So it does have protein, but all the carbs together maybe aren't the best idea. But it is going to taste really, really good. There's our finished burrito bowl. Y'all have a nice day. And I'll see you Wednesday with my next video. And it's going to be... I don't know what my next video is going to be. No, today's Wednesday. So my next video is going to be on Friday. And it's going to be the dark chocolate peanut butter fudge gluten-free brownies. And those are going to be really good if you want to give them as a gift for the holidays. Until next time, bye y'all.